and welcome to the Trumped Up Podcast Season 3, Episode 8, Political Trick or Treat. And yes, in politics, there's lots of dirty tricks, lots of games and crazy things going on, lots of money behind the scenes. Politicians call it dark money, but they all seem to take it for some reason. If it's so dark money, stop taking it. There you go. Self-fund your campaign with your own personal wealth, like the man in charge did in his first election. Granted, he had a record not record, but he raised $26 million after the debate, which we all know. And by all the polls I've read, Donald Trump won that debate easily. Yes, the second presidential debate. And Joe Biden just revealed more of who he is, if you didn't already know, after 47 years of the guy being in the public eye and in politics. A lot of crazy things going on in the world. Something the media leaves out, the fatality rate of the coronavirus right now is actually going down as testing goes up because, more people are testing positive as we test more, but that brings the percentage and the death numbers down, and that's a good thing. And it seems we may be rounding the curve, but we'll see. I'm not a doctor. It's my opinion. It's just personally what I see. Don't cancel me for it. But turns out this week that some text messages and some emails were released to the public about they're allegedly from Hunter Biden's laptop. Nobody's denied these are real or not, but from what we've seen, some of the people that actually were recipients of the emails confirm that they're 100% accurate. And this laptop has been in the possession of the FBI for a while because it's part of a money laundering investigation. The FBI normally doesn't speak about ongoing investigations, so if they're not talking about it, Hunter Biden may or may not be under investigation, and we don't know. Or maybe there's something there that links to the Clintons, or maybe there's some evidence about the 2016 Russia hoax and the crazy things they did, and they all backfired and they all failed. And no matter what stupid things these people try to do, the same trend is going to continue. It's just going to backfire in their face, and it's never going to work because the president is Teflon Don. They throw everything in the world at him, and it just bounces off of him because he doesn't freak out like a normal politician who would run out of Washington and go into hiding for life if they came at him with 10% of what the media comes at President Trump with. But so these emails come out. Hunter, nobody's seen this guy since he did that interview with ABC, CBS, whatever the hell network it was, where he admitted he had no energy experience, which we'll get into the whole energy thing that's related to something Biden said in the debate this week. But we'll get on with that when we get into fossil fuels and energy. But and Biden and his campaign people keep coming out and saying it's a smear with no evidence of this. It's Russian, although Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe said that's not true. The FBI said this has nothing to do with Russian interference, although there was some Iranian-Russian interference. If you get these weird, stupid emails from political groups like the Proud Boys or whatever that you didn't subscribe to, hey, here's an idea. Delete it because it could give your computer a virus, number one. And number two, it's probably just some bull crap and whatever. Which takes me to, there was a woman somewhere in my state of I believe it was New Hampshire, actually, just north of me here in Massachusetts. And she had her Trump signs out and Republican signs out and all that. And then she gets this letter in the mail. And it's threatening her and blah, blah, blah. And the same crap that all of us get on the internet, not usually in our mail, but in funky emails and rude comments and disgusting things the left likes to say to us. And we usually just ignore it and move on with our lives. But that is their life, disgusting crap. But my guess is the fact that somebody mailed this to her. It's not Russians. It's not the Iranians. It's her damn neighbor. And the FBI is investigating. So I hope if it is one of her damn neighbors, they get the maximum and they learn their damn lesson about threatening people, because one, I personally think attacking people for their political beliefs or being a police officer, as people are doing, should be considered hate crimes and should be added to the list of hate crime legislation that's out there in the world. But it's not, unfortunately, so you can be attacked for wearing a red MAGA hat, and chances are, with the COVID, they're just going to let these crazy people out, like the fat nasty lady, yes, I'm going to put it straight up, that attacked an elderly Vietnam veteran here in my state of Massachusetts, where trials are delayed till at least November 9th, and at that point, I'm assuming they'll probably be delayed till next year sometime. I mean, you can't even get a driving test in this state right now unless you already had one scheduled and you're rescheduling. So if you don't have a driver's license, that might cause you a problem or not. But whatever. The government sucks, and we all know it. And it's crazy, but we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more of the Trumped Up Podcast. Hey, you too can join the podcasting world and be one of the greatest podcasters out there. Build an audience, get sponsorships, earn money, and do many, many interesting things. You can also get listener support to help sponsor your show, all by using Anchor. Anchor is the easiest way to become a podcaster. Anyone can do it. If you got something to say, or someone thinks you got something to say, or you just want to say something, come and join Anchor and join the podcasting revolution. Hello and welcome back to the Trumped Up Podcast Season 3, Episode 8, Political Trick or Treat. I am your host, Keith Rao. Remember, you can catch the Trumped Up Podcast across all major podcasting platforms. You can check us out on Facebook. You can check us out on Twitter. You can check us out on Parler. We're on Rumble. We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram. We're all over the place, and we're growing every day. And check us out. You can also come join the Trumped Up Podcast group, where it's a safe space for Trump supporters, and you can freely say what you want because we remove liberals and trolls and all the stupid people who want to come in and play games and do dumb things like report things for hate speech that aren't hate speech, and because they're just playing games, and that's the way it is. So the debate happened the other night, and Trump was on top of his game. He 100% won this debate. I seen a poll that just came out today, and it said something like 46% black people now support Donald Trump after the debate, which, after you pointed out to like all the millions of people that were watching, that Biden was behind this 1994 crime bill, which created mandatory minimums for drug crimes, and it disproportionately locked up black males. And then it created single black mothers who had to raise children by themselves, and it created a cycle of dependency, and yet it's just another epic failure of Democrats. And he says in the debate that he's going to get rid of this, and he's been trying to get rid of this when he was in office. And Trump asked him why he hadn't accomplished it in his 47 years, and all he could do was blame Republicans. At which point President Trump pointed out to him that, hey, I passed criminal justice reform and prison reform with Democrats, which says, hey, Trump can work across the aisle. Before Nancy started playing these games, fancy Nancy, got to play her games because she doesn't want to give President Trump a win before the election, so we probably won't see any kind of assistance for the American people before then, because that's how Pelosi plays games. But let me tell you, that's going to backfire in our face, and Americans are going to turn on all these freaking politicians, no matter what party they're in, if they don't start helping the American people and not other freaking countries and dumbass crap and foreign aid and whatever. But yeah, Biden hadn't done it in 47 years, and then Trump finally put an end to that whole stupid kids in cages narrative that the left's been saying forever by pointing out 100% that the cages were built in 2014 under the Obama administration. Joe Biden may or may not have had something to do with that policy because he was vice president, but of course, like that and other things, Biden suddenly turned on Obama and blamed him for the bad crap that made him look bad. which is pretty much what they did for 8 years in office, blaming George Bush for all their problems. And as soon as these clowns left office, and still just the other day, Obama's trying to take credit for what President Trump has done. It's ridiculous. It's all games. It's all for show. And if you really got half a brain, you can figure it out in about 5 seconds that it's all a bunch of crap. And the narrative that President Trump put out there, though, after this whole debate was the fact that, hi, I'm the ultimate outsider who keeps winning, and no matter what they throw at me, I keep winning, and I'm still fighting for you despite them coming after me because I ruined their game, because they're all swamp rats that have been around forever, especially Joe Biden, 47 freaking years. 47 years. And what did you accomplish, Mr. Biden? Oh, that crime bill? Health care, oh yeah. Nobody lost their health care, he claims, which was the same lie that they claimed when they tried to pass the law, when Nancy told us, you got to pass it to find out what's in it. And when we found out what was in it, 7 million people lost their health insurance, Mr. Biden. Yeah, fact checked. You are incorrect. And then Trump gets to the point, okay, Biden's been going back and forth on fracking. There's videos all over the place where he said he was going to ban fracking. Then he went to no fracking on public lands. And then at this debate, Trump got him all the way to the point of saying he's going to ban fossil fuels 100% and go to renewable energy such as solar, wind, and whatever else renewable energies has come down the pike. And even the moderator was like, oh, why did you just say that? She wasn't asking him as a follow-up. She was like, oh my God, why did he just say that? I can't believe he just said that. And this is around the time Mr. Biden started staring at his watch, I believe, which the first George Bush also did this in a debate, as I seen on television just this morning when I was drinking my coffee. So it's kind of comical that, like, hey, I got better things. Maybe if you're President Trump and you literally got to go sign these Middle East peace deals with Israel and these other Arabic countries, or you got to be in a meeting with a world leader or on a conference call. But if you're Joe Biden and it's just past your bedtime, yeah, you shouldn't be looking at your watch in front of the American people. And then, so President Trump, he did 2 rallies yesterday in Florida. He's going to vote this morning. He's got a couple other rallies that he's going to do today. I believe it's 3 tomorrow. And yeah, there's things are going to be nonstop, like between the next 10 days. Between now and the election, he'll probably still be campaigning at like midnight somewhere on election night, like the last time, and Hillary was at home just hoping for the best, which we all know how that worked out for her. And her polls, just anybody that sees polls, just look at Frank Lunt's pollster. Guys have been around forever, and even he said that if these polls turn out to be as wrong as they were last time, that industry is dead. No, that industry is already dead, because we all know those polls are bullcrap. And you know what? I'm not going to base my opinion of who's leading an election based on 567 possible voters or 1,245 likely voters that were already leaning Democrat. So stupid. But yeah, the polls are bogus. They've always been bogus. They're always going to be bogus. I mean, if I did a poll in my Trumped Up podcast group, Trump won, period. Nobody else in there is going to say anything else because we all support the president. So, but, I'll point out when he does something wrong. He didn't really answer the question about the people living on the fence line of the oil refineries and the health problems that this can lead to. But the real answer to that is, yes, a lot of those people work in that industry. That's why they live where they live, or they work at places that support that industry's employees, such as maybe a Walmart or a Popeye's Chicken or KFC or Pizza Hut or whatever, or the convenience store, the Obama Mart, a 7-Eleven, whatever place it could be. But the fact is, they probably moved there because the rent was dirt cheap and they were poor. So that's why they live at this area. But you're asking the government to solve the problem that you created yourself by moving to this location when you could have chose to live somewhere else. Just like People choose not to live near power lines, or they choose not to live next to a chlorine factory, because in Springfield, Massachusetts, I don't know how many years ago, there was a chlorine factory and it ended up having a fire and a big explosion. And it was, if you live next to there, that stuff's in the air and you're going to breathe it in. And just take the wildfire smoke from California, man, that traveled all the way over here, 2,000 something miles to Massachusetts. Granted, it wasn't as horrible to us here on the East Coast because a lot of it dissipated by that, but you could still see it in the air. And if you had health problems like lung problems, I wouldn't recommend standing outside all day on that day. But so yeah, Biden's going to ban the fossil fuel industry to get back on point. Or at least he was until 5 minutes after he left the auditorium and a reporter asked him about it. And then he's, no, we're going to transition and it's going to go over a long period of time. And then Kamala's out saying the same thing the next morning, although she pretty much said 80,000 times that she's going to ban fracking. So when she said it, she said, Joe Biden's not going to ban fracking. No, but she didn't say, I'm not going to ban fracking when we get rid of Joe Biden, because then you would know their whole game, because that's their whole game. And they're just letting this poor man be their figurehead up there as the person. And then all these crazy things Nancy's doing with like 25th Amendment and letting Joe Biden look like he's losing his mind, and all the crazy things he says, like cockroaches and little boys with the leg hairs and who the hell knows. You could even tell in debate, because he keeps bringing up things like money for schools and first responders. And if you don't give the money to the states that Nancy wants to give to the states, which is pandering to unions, like the Boilermaker Union, which didn't endorse him, although he said he did, but he said the NAACP endorsed him too. And hey, you know what? Joe Biden's the epitome of a 47-year career politician who does nothing but tell you what you want to hear, and the story changes from one event to another, to a debate, to an interview. But hey, we all know that he likes black and white milkshakes. I don't know how somebody didn't find that racist, but it seemed kind of racist to say that. I'm sure he was trying to do it in a manner, but it just was wrong. Said, but that was their media's pressing question from that. What flavor is your milkshake, really? Did they ask Donald Trump what he ate for lunch today? Seriously, what the hell does anyone care what his milkshake flavor is? Maybe it was strawberry, maybe it was chocolate. Who gives a damn? Everybody likes something different, right? Doesn't tell me what he's going to do for America, and neither does he, because 1 minute he's telling you he's going to ban fracking, then he's, no, we're banning fracking on public land. All this crazy ideas about the banning fossil fuels and the green crap they're talking about. Go look up Solyndra and what happened with them, all the green energy companies during the stimulus and the bailout that Obama and Biden gave not only to the auto workers, but they gave all kinds of subsidies and loans and things to these companies like Solyndra, who went bankrupt after taking all these government funds. And yes, that's another thing Mr. Biden did. So the cages, the crime bill, giving money to bankrupt green energy companies, none of these plans will work. That's a perfect example of why it won't work. That's why the very next event Biden did after the debate, with the media only, I don't go in the public, I only talk to reporters that my campaign hand chose with handwritten questions by the DNC and my campaign. Let me tell you, the media, big tech, the DNC, all these Democrat politicians, all these freaking people like Soros and the organizations they run, and all these people behind these freaking commercials that nonstop come on your TV about with the doctors saying how bad Trump's response is, and you read, this was paid for by whoever, and they all have an agenda, and it's all like they're one part of some big major crime syndicate, which they probably are, but they're really trying to play with their lives. And that's why this election is more important than any election in the history of the frickin' world. I don't care what you say. Not the history of the U.S., the history of the frickin' world. Because with these just take this Middle East peace deal. We got Israel. They already had made deals with Egypt and Jordan a few years ago. Now we added 3 more countries into that. So now they have a 6-country alliance. It's looking like Saudi Arabia may join this. And then if they bring in a few more Middle Eastern countries, my opinion is they can create a NATO kind of force to patrol and collective defense like NATO does of Europe, but they'll do it for the Middle East, which is a hell of a counteraction to Iran or advances from China or Russia, because if you get enough of these countries together and they're collectively all wanting to live in peace and make money by having an economy and dealing with trade deals with countries like the US and the EU and other civilized nations that don't have terrorists all over the place, I think then countries like China and Iran, and they'll become less of a problem, because knowing that all these Middle Eastern countries are going to get together, and it's the most peaceful time I've ever seen in the Middle East in my entire life, and nobody ever said this could be done, but it's amazing that it's being done, and it's being done under President Trump, and we didn't have to give up $150 billion on pallets of cash to the Iranians to get it done. No, we got it done. Sure. The part of the deal with Sudan is they used to be a state sponsor of terrorism. And part of the deal for them to be included in this deal was they have to reimburse families and victims of the terror they created, which is a positive thing. And maybe these countries can get past their third world, ancient times wars that have been going on for land and oil and religious differences and civil wars in countries that disagree with the government, because it's not like our country where we're totally free to do most things, except with all these unconstitutional lockdowns and crazy things the government comes up with every week that nobody can really tell us if they work or not. And yeah, so Biden's stuck on the whole COVID thing, because that's the only winning point the guy has. If the guy's going to raise your taxes existentially. Yeah, that word. Big word for the not so big man. No, but that's crazy, yeah. So I'm kind of running out of wind. We got 10 days to the election, though. If you didn't vote early, get out and vote. Make sure. I'm going to vote in person myself, because I like to see what's going on, and I can report it back to you. And election night, we will be live, and we will be looking for guests. And we'll post a link in the Trumped Up Podcast group and on the Trumped Up Podcast page. And we hope we'll have a good discussion. And if that doesn't work, maybe I'll just create a room in the Trumped Up Podcast Facebook group. And we can just have a group discussion about what's going on with the results of the election and why the media is going to deliver certain states, and if we're actually going to know who the hell the next president of the United States is. Which, personally, I'm beginning to think more and more, despite these polls. Everything's paralleling 2020. It's like we went full circle, even with the whole Biden-Hunter and possibly other scandals over there with the Ukraine and Chinese government and these energy companies. And yeah, the guy that wants to buy on fossil fuel sun's making money in energy. Was it oil or was it green energy? Because if it's green energy, then you'll understand why Biden wants to make the green energy thing, because he's going to profit off of it. The guy is corrupt, man. He's been there 47 years, and, he's not usually out of his house past 10 a.m. That's why he was looking at his watch, because when he seen 10-something, whatever it was at the time, he's like, oh, crap, it's past my bedtime, but he didn't realize it was 12 hours past his bedtime. And I love how when you catch him and think, he starts getting angry, and he starts getting loud. I'm telling you, pay attention to it next time you're watching him, if you can understand anything he's saying, because he's got a mask on, I don't barely understand what he's saying. And when he don't have a mask on, I barely don't understand what he's saying. And whatever he's saying is a bunch of bullcrap anyway, so I would never vote for the guy regardless. And yes, I did vote for Obama once, and I learned my lesson on that one, and most of us did too. And I think that was one of the greatest lines in the debate, besides, "Who built the cages, Joe? Who built the cages, Joe?" That was a good one-liner. But now I lost my train of thought, so I'm going to wrap it up here. It's the Trumped Up Podcast. I am your host, Keith Rao, and I am